My phone lit up at 11:47 p.m. with a message. Derek's home security, motion detected, living room. I almost ignored it. Derek was supposed to be in Denver for work, but something made me click on it anyway. I opened the security app that Derek made me download months ago. He said it was for safety, so I could check his house when he was away. The video loaded and my heart stopped. There was Derek, who was supposed to be in another state, kissing a blonde woman in his kitchen. The same kitchen where he made me breakfast 3 days ago. The same kitchen where he promised he would miss me so much while he was gone. But that wasn't even the worst part. The worst part was seeing another woman sitting on his couch, looking at her phone like this was totally normal. Like, she was waiting for her turn. My hands shook as I took pictures of the screen. The timestamp showed this was happening right now. Derek's work emergency in Denver was actually something very different. I was about to close the app when I heard Derek's voice clearly through the speakers. "Sarah still believes I'm in Denver," he laughed, his hands all over the blonde woman. God, she's so stupid and trusting. She even thanked me for working so hard for our future. The woman on the couch looked up. "Which one is Sarah again?" "The brown-haired one. Does yoga. I think we're only dating each other." Derek's laugh was mean and cold. "They all think they're special." I dropped my phone. Sarah was my name. I was the yoga teacher who thought we were exclusive. I was the one planning our mountain trip next weekend. I was the one looking at apartments we could move into together. I grabbed my phone and started recording the live video, catching Derek's cruel words and the proof that everything about our relationship was fake. That's when Derek looked right at the camera and winked at me. He knew I was watching. My phone buzzed 30 seconds later with a text from Derek. "Did you enjoy watching?" My blood went cold. Another message came. "You didn't really think I forgot you could see my cameras, did you?"
Come on, Maya.
I'm not stupid. Then another. "Here's the deal. You keep quiet about what you saw tonight, and I'll keep being your perfect boyfriend when people are around. Everyone wins." I stared at my phone, my mind spinning. This wasn't just cheating. This was a sick game. Derek had wanted me to see this. He planned it. "Why would you do this to me?" I typed back. "Because I can. Because you'll let me. Because deep down, you know you're not worth fighting for. Sleep well, babe. See you Friday for dinner with your parents." I threw my phone across the room and watched it hit the wall. But even though I was furious, I was also starting to think clearly for the first time in months. Derek thought he was the smartest person alive. He always did. That's what I liked about him at first, how confident he was, how successful, how he made me feel special. But Derek just made a big mistake. He thought I was weak and stupid. He was wrong. Before we dive deeper, hit subscribe and tell us in the comments, what would you do if you caught your partner betraying you live on camera and realized it was all part of their sick game? The next morning, I called in sick to work and drove to Derek's neighborhood. I wasn't going to confront him. I was too smart for that now. I was going to learn everything I could. I parked far away and walked past his house, wearing a baseball cap and sunglasses. Derek's house was big and modern and full of expensive technology. I used to think it was amazing. Now I studied it like I was planning to break in. Last night had made everything clear. All those weird things about Derek over the past 8 months suddenly made sense. How he always put his phone face down at dinner. How he never wanted to make our relationship official on social media. How he got angry when I tried to visit without calling first. "I like our privacy," he always said. "It makes us special." Special. Sure it did.
My phone rang.
It was my sister Zoe, who worked with computer security. "Want to get coffee? You sounded strange when you called me this morning." I had called Zoe at 6 a.m. asking weird questions about computers and finding evidence online. Zoe knew something was wrong, but she was also the best hacker I knew.
Yes.
"Bring your laptop," I texted back. "He's been doing this for years," Zoe said, typing fast on her laptop as we sat in the back corner of the coffee shop. Her screen showed all of Derek's online accounts spread across different websites. "How long?" I asked, though I wasn't sure I wanted to know. 3 years at least. "Look at this." He has dating profiles on 5 different websites, all active at the same time. Different pictures, different hobbies listed for each one. He's got this figured out like a business. Zoe turned her screen toward me. Profile after profile of Derek, each one designed for a different type of woman. Outdoorsy Derek for women who liked hiking. Smart Derek for educated women. Sensitive Derek for women who wanted someone caring. Maya, look at this. Zoe's voice got serious. She had found something else, a private website hidden deep on the internet. He's been sharing details. I felt sick as I read the posts. Derek, using the name Master of Puppets, had been writing about his experiments with dating multiple women. Screenshots of private texts, personal photos, detailed notes about how to manipulate each woman. My own photos were there. Our private conversations. Derek had given me a score for how easy to manipulate I was. "That sick bastard," I whispered. Then louder. "That sick, lying bastard." "There's more," Zoe said quietly. "Maya, I think you need to see this." She clicked on a video file. I recognized Derek's living room right away, but this video was old. The date stamp showed it was from 4 months ago, the night Derek convinced me to make a private video together. "He promised he would delete this," I said, my voice flat. He lied. And this isn't the only one. There are videos of at least 6 different women here. Some of them don't even know they're being recorded. I felt something break inside my chest. Not my heart, that was already broken. Something deeper. Something that had been holding me back. "How do I destroy him?" I asked. Zoe looked up from her laptop, studying my face. "Maya, you need to think about this carefully, Dash."
No.
My voice was like steel. "I'm done thinking. I'm done being careful. Derek wants to play games?
Fine.
Let's play. But I'm making the rules now." I spent the next week acting like the perfect victim. I sent Derek sweet texts, never mentioned what I saw, even helped him plan dinner with my parents next Friday. To anyone watching, I was the same trusting, naive girlfriend I'd always been. But I was learning everything I could. I used Derek's ego against him, asking innocent questions about his security cameras, his work, his daily routine. Derek loved feeling smarter than everyone else, so he was happy to explain everything. How his cameras saved everything to the cloud, automatically. How his smart house system tracked every movement. How he'd built the perfect digital security system. "You're so smart," I said sweetly during one of these talks. "I feel so safe knowing you could protect us from anything." Derek puffed up with pride. "Knowledge is power, babe. Remember that." Meanwhile, Zoe was building something amazing. A computer program that would find, copy, and share all of Derek's files across every website he'd ever used to hurt women. But more than that, it would make sure the evidence reached exactly the right people at exactly the right time. "It's perfect justice," Zoe explained as she worked on the code. "We're going to use his own security system against him. Create a digital trail so complete that even he can't lie his way out of it." But I wanted more than just exposing him. I wanted Derek to feel the same helplessness, the same violation I felt. That's when I remembered the company party. Derek's work party happened every 3 months. He hosted it at his house, inviting coworkers, clients, and investors. It was where business deals happened, where reputations were made, and where Derek showed off as the golden boy of the tech world. This time, Derek was giving a presentation called Digital Privacy and Trust in the Modern Age. He was going to talk about cybersecurity. I almost laughed at how perfect this was. I arrived early, playing the supportive girlfriend perfectly. I helped set up food, chatted with Derek's coworkers, and made sure everyone had drinks. "Derek's so lucky to have you," said Linda from the office. "You two are relationship goals." I smiled sweetly. He really is special. I learned something new about him every day. While Derek talked with his guests, I excused myself to use the bathroom. Instead, I went to Derek's office, where Zoe was waiting outside the window in the dark. "Are you sure about the timing?" Zoe whispered as I let her in through the back door. "Perfect timing," I said. "He's about to give a speech about privacy and trust." I can't think of a better time for everyone to learn the truth. Zoe's fingers moved quickly over her keyboard, connecting to Derek's own internet, his own system. Maya, once I start this, we can't stop it. His entire digital life is going to show up on every screen in this house at the same time. Are you ready? I thought about the forum posts, the videos, the cold way Derek laughed about my trust. I thought about the other women who were probably right now planning their futures with a man who saw them as toys. Do it. Derek was in the middle of his speech about the importance of digital honesty in personal relationships when every screen in his house came to life. The smart TVs, the tablets, the computer screens, all of them started playing a carefully edited video compilation of Derek's worst moments. His voice from the forum posts, reading his cruel analysis of the women he was manipulating. The secret videos he made without permission. The dating profiles showing how he lied to everyone. But the best part was the live video from that first night. Derek's own voice, crystal clear. Sarah still believes I'm in Denver. God, she's so stupid and trusting. The room went completely silent except for Derek's recorded laughter coming from every speaker. I watched from the back of the room as Derek's face went from confused to horrified. His guests, his coworkers, his clients, his boss stood frozen, drinks in their hands, watching Derek's masks fall away one by one. What the hell is this? Derek ran to the nearest screen, trying to turn it off, but Zoe had locked him out of his own system. This is Derek Williams, I said, stepping forward. My voice carried clearly through the quiet room. The real Derek Williams. These are his own files from his own computers, recorded by his own security cameras. Derek spun around to stare at me, his face full of rage. You can't do this. This is illegal. This is Dash. This is your own content, Derek. Your own words. Your own cameras. You taught me that knowledge is power, remember? The videos kept playing. Derek's boss, Janet Martinez, looked from the screen to Derek with disgust. Derek, please tell me this isn't real. But it was completely real. And there was more coming. The screen switched to new footage. Derek's private messages with clients, showing how he overcharged them, cut corners on their security systems, and even sold their private information to other companies. You sick freak, said one of the clients, a local business owner. You've been in our systems, our private networks Dash. Derek was panicking now, trying to deal with multiple disasters at once, but the evidence was overwhelming. His own words, his own admissions, his own arrogance, all preserved in digital form. I watched him fall apart and felt something I didn't expect. Not happiness, but deep relief. The man who made me question my own sanity was finally being seen for what he really was. The party ended quickly, guests running away from Derek's digital nightmare like people fleeing a burning building. But I wasn't finished. As Derek stood alone in his living room, surrounded by screens still playing his greatest hits of cruelty, I walked up to him slowly. Turn it off, Derek said, his voice empty. Please, Maya. Just turn it off. I can't, I said honestly. It's already uploading to every platform, every contact in your phone, every client database. It's going to your parents, your old college friends, every woman you've ever dated. By tomorrow morning, everyone you've ever met will know exactly who Derek Williams really is. Derek collapsed onto his couch, head in his hands. Why are you doing this to me? I stared at him, remembering who I was just 1 week ago. The woman who would have felt sorry for him, who would have doubted herself, who would have believed his excuses. You know what the beautiful thing is about your security system, Derek? I asked. It's completely automatic. Even if you tried to say this was all fake, the computer data doesn't lie. The timestamps don't lie. Your own digital fingerprints are on everything. Derek looked up at me, and for the first time, I saw something I'd never seen in his eyes before. Real fear. You destroyed my entire life, he whispered. No, I said calmly. I exposed your life. You destroyed yourself the moment you decided other people were toys for your entertainment. The next morning, I sat in my sister's kitchen, watching the story explode across social media. #CamerasDoNotLie was trending worldwide. Derek's company had issued a statement about immediately firing him while they investigated. The women from the forum had started organizing, sharing their stories, building a legal case. But the most satisfying moment came at 10:30 a.m. when my phone rang. Maya? Derek's voice was broken, begging. Can we talk? Please. What's there to talk about, Derek? I can explain everything. The forum thing, that wasn't real. I was just showing off online. And the other women, they meant nothing. You're the one I love. You have to believe me. I almost laughed. Even now, even after everything, Derek was trying to mess with my head. Derek, I said gently. No one will believe you. The silence stretched between us. But Maya, Derek said finally, his voice small and desperate. People are calling me a monster. My own mother won't answer my calls. I lost my job. My house is going into foreclosure. Everything's gone. Good, I said and meant it. Now you know how it feels to have someone tear apart your sense of reality. To have someone you trusted use your weaknesses against you. To be dismissed and not believed when you try to tell the truth. This is different, Dash. This is exactly the same. The only difference is that your victims didn't have your crimes documented in high-definition video. Derek was crying now. Actually crying. What do you want from me? An apology? Money? I'll do anything. I thought about this. What did I want? Revenge felt good, but it wasn't enough. Justice was sweeter, but still not complete. I want you to understand, I said finally, that you're not the smartest person in the room. You're not the puppet master. You're not special. You're just another insecure man who confused being cruel with being powerful. Maya, please, Dash. I want you to live with the consequences of your choices. I want you to remember that every time you called someone weak or stupid or pathetically trusting, you were creating the very qualities that would eventually destroy you. I hung up the phone. 6 months later, I testified at Derek's trial. He was charged with harassment, recording people without permission, fraud, and cyberstalking. The evidence was overwhelming. His own obsession with digital technology had created a perfect record of his crimes. But the trial wasn't the end of my story. It was the beginning. I started a nonprofit organization called Digital Truth, helping other survivors of tech-enabled abuse navigate the legal system and reclaim their stories. My experience had inspired others to look more carefully at their own relationships, to trust their instincts, to document everything. Zoe quit her corporate job to work with me full-time, developing apps to help people protect themselves and gather evidence of abuse. We created a program that could securely record and store digital evidence, connecting users with legal help and support networks. You know what's crazy? I said one evening as we worked late in our new office. Derek thought his cameras were about control, about watching other people. And instead they became about accountability, Zoe finished. About watching him. I smiled, thinking about the woman I used to be before that night in March, trusting, naive, willing to give Derek the benefit of the doubt even when every instinct screamed danger. That woman was gone, but I didn't miss her. She'd been replaced by someone stronger, wiser, more dangerous to people who preyed on trust and kindness. My phone buzzed with a notification from the Digital Truth app. Another survivor reaching out, looking for help, ready to fight back. I rolled up my sleeves and got to work. 1 year after the party that changed everything, I was invited to speak at a conference about digital safety and domestic abuse. As I stood on the stage looking out at hundreds of faces, I thought about how much had changed. Derek's case had become famous in legal circles. Prosecutors now used it as an example of how abusers' own technology could be turned against them. Police departments were training officers on digital evidence collection. Universities were teaching courses on recognizing tech-enabled abuse. The thing about abusers, I told the audience, is that they're often very good with technology. They use it to monitor, control, and manipulate their victims. But technology is a double-edged sword. I clicked to the next slide, showing statistics about Digital Truth's impact. In the past year, our organization has helped over 3,000 survivors document abuse and escape dangerous relationships. We've worked with law enforcement to prosecute 127 cases of tech-enabled abuse. And we've trained over 10,000 people to recognize the warning signs. After my presentation, a young woman approached me nervously. "Ms. Chen, I think my boyfriend might be doing some of the things you talked about. He always knows where I am, even when I don't tell him. He has passwords to all my accounts. He says it's because he loves me, but..." I handed her a card. "Trust your instincts. They're usually right." These conversations happened after every speech I gave. Women and men who were starting to realize that their partner's protective behavior was actually controlled. People who were beginning to understand that love shouldn't feel like surveillance. I rarely thought about Derek anymore, but sometimes I wondered what his life looked like now. The answers came through court documents and probation reports that were part of the public record. Derek Williams, age 34, lived in a small apartment in Cleveland with his mother. He worked at a customer service call center, taking angry calls from people whose internet wasn't working. His internet usage was monitored as part of his probation. He attended court-mandated therapy twice a week for narcissistic personality disorder and anger management. His therapist's notes, available through the legal proceedings, painted a picture of a man struggling to understand how he'd lost everything. Patient continues to blame external factors for his situation, one report read. Shows limited insight into how his actions affected others. Still refers to his behavior as mistakes rather than deliberate choices to harm. Derek had tried to rebuild his reputation several times. He'd started new social media accounts, applied for jobs in tech, even attempted to create a YouTube channel about learning from mistakes. But the internet never forgets, and Derek's story followed him everywhere. His mother had given one interview to a local newspaper. "I raised him better than this. I don't know where I went wrong. The Derek I thought I knew would never hurt anyone." I felt a brief moment of sympathy for Derek's mother, but not for Derek himself. He'd had countless opportunities to choose differently, to treat people with basic human decency. Instead, he'd chosen to see other people as objects for his entertainment. Now he was learning what it felt like to have his choices follow him forever. 3 years after that night, a documentary crew contacted me. They wanted to make a film about my case and its impact on how society deals with digital abuse. "Do you ever regret it?" the interviewer asked during our final session. "The way you exposed Derek Williams was very thorough. Some people say it was too much." I looked directly into the camera, thinking about the hundreds of women who had contacted me over the past 3 years. Women who had left abusive relationships after seeing my story. Women who had learned to document evidence, to trust their gut feelings, to believe in their own worth. Derek Williams spent years documenting other people's vulnerabilities for his own entertainment, I said. He recorded private moments without permission, shared personal conversations like trophies, and built his entire identity around psychological manipulation. I paused, letting that sink in. When I used his own methods against him, his own cameras, his own documentation, his own digital trail, I didn't create evidence. I revealed it. The only difference is that I did it all at once, instead of slowly torturing one person at a time for months or years. The interviewer nodded. "And Derek? Do you know what happened to him?" My smile wasn't cruel anymore, just satisfied. Derek Williams currently works at a call center in Cleveland, lives with his mother, and attends court-ordered therapy for narcissistic personality disorder. His internet access is monitored as part of his probation. He's learning what it's like to have someone else control his digital life. Some would call that justice. "I call it natural consequences," I replied. Derek taught me that knowledge is power. I just learned the lesson better than he did. The documentary premiered at the Sundance Film Festival and won an award for Best Documentary Feature. I attended the premiere with Zoe, my parents, and a group of survivors who had become close friends over the years. As the credits rolled and the audience applauded, I felt a complex mix of emotions. Pride in what I'd built from my worst experience. Sadness for all the women who had endured similar abuse. Hope for the future, as more people learn to recognize and resist manipulation. After the screening, during the Q&A session, a film critic asked a question that made me pause. "Your story has inspired many people, but it's also been criticized by some as vigilante justice. How do you respond to people who say you went too far?" I stood up slowly, looking out at the packed theater. In the audience, I could see survivors I'd helped, activists I'd worked with, and family members who had supported me through everything. "I want to tell you about a message I received last week," I said. It was from a 19-year-old college student whose boyfriend had installed tracking software on her phone, was reading all her messages, and had convinced her that this was normal in relationships. The theater was completely quiet. She wrote to me, "I saw your documentary trailer online, and it made me realize that what my boyfriend was doing wasn't love, it was control. I left him yesterday, and I'm getting help. Thank you for showing me that I deserved better." My voice stayed steady and strong. That young woman is one of thousands who have reached out over the past 3 years. They've left abusive relationships, learned to trust their instincts, and rebuilt their lives. They've gone to college, started businesses, fallen in love with people who actually respect them. I looked directly at the critic who had asked the question. So when people ask if I went too far, I think about all the women who are alive and free today because they learned from my story. I think about the abusers who have been caught because victims now know how to document evidence. I think about the children growing up in homes without domestic violence because their parents learned to recognize the warning signs. I paused, then said quietly, "If saving lives is going too far, then I'll go too far every single time." The standing ovation lasted for 5 full minutes. 5 years after the night that changed everything, I stood in my organization's new headquarters, looking at a wall covered with thank you letters from survivors. Digital Truth had helped over 25,000 people escape abusive relationships and had trained law enforcement agencies across the country. The Derek Williams case had become a landmark in legal history, cited in court cases and law school textbooks. It had changed how police investigated domestic abuse cases and how tech companies design their privacy settings. But for me, the real victory wasn't in the legal precedents or the media attention. It was in the individual lives that had been changed. Like Sarah, the nurse who learned to recognize that her boyfriend's protective behavior was actually stalking. Like Marcus, the college student who realized his girlfriend's constant monitoring wasn't love, but control. Like Jennifer, the single mother who discovered her ex-husband was using their children's tablets to spy on her new relationship. Each person who learned to trust their instincts, who gathered evidence, who chose safety over familiarity, they were Derek's real defeat and my true victory. My phone buzzed with a text from Zoe. "New app update is ready." The AI detection feature can now identify manipulation tactics in text messages with 94% accuracy. I smiled and typed back, "Derek would hate knowing he helped us build that." As the sun set over the city, I looked out my office window and thought about the woman I used to be. That woman would have been amazed by what was possible when you stopped accepting other people's definitions of what you deserved. My phone rang, another survivor, ready to take control of their story. I answered on the first ring. "Digital Truth, this is Maya. How can I help you take your power back?" If you liked this story, give it a like, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe for more shocking tales. Click the box on the left. Your next adventure is waiting.